What do you want to change, and what's the motivation?
Sure thing. So what we're doing here is we are just trying to keep up with the times of what's going on in other communities. We had some laws that just were kind of outdated, not really reflective of the current market, and frankly, a little bit too limiting on business. And so what we said is, let's let the market control some of this. Let's step back a little bit, and let's see what works elsewhere. And what it's telling us is that, really it's pretty common to be able to sell liquor on Sunday. One of the things that we see is that people are able to go to Buffalo Wild Wings or Chili's and get get any kind of alcohol they want, but they can't go to their neighborhood bar and watch a football game. And so that's something that's a little outdated. So we thought we would, change that requirement, allow bars to be able to be open on Sunday should they choose to be. And then we also had this sort of layered kind of timeline for when bars had to close in town. There were a couple different times. We're going to keep the later hours downtown, but we're also going to allow the bars in the rest of the city, which had primarily closed at 2, but some were able to stay open till 4. We're just going to blend all of that to 4 so that it's a standard time throughout the rest of the city, and make that easier for the police to enforce. That helps them remember, am I in this one particular district that has 4, or, it's just everywhere at the same time.
Jeff, let me ask you, the liquor stores, under this measure, liquor stores could now be open on Sunday. What hours?
Well, the thing with liquor stores right now is actually they can be open now, but they're only selling beer and wine.
Right.
And one of the things they told us was they said, we're going to be open just because we don't want our customers getting used to going somewhere else. But, it's not very profitable for us to be open. We can't be selling the main thing we sell. And so, they're going to be able to be open from, sort of it's a regular hours that other stores would be open. So it's like I'm wanting to say the time is like noon or so till whatever time in the afternoon that every other store would have to close.
But I can buy my wine on Sunday and my tequila.
You sure can, absolutely. You no longer have to go to a formal restaurant to get your mixed drink on a Sunday. So,
or in her case, Peruvian Amazon. So,
exactly right.
Little.
But it'll allow people to shop local. I mean, a lot of people on Sundays, I hate to say it, but they're driving across the bridge to go to Bossier and buy things. And this will be able to keep them here in Shreveport.
A little inside baseball info, if you will. When, as a city councilman, you introduce something like this, I would assume that you've been working the room for a while, that you've discussed this idea with the other city council people, and you kind of get a sense of who's going to be a yay, who's going to be a nay, who's on your side, and who's not. How do you anticipate this is going to go, and do you think it'll be a pretty easy pass?
I get the feeling it will be, primarily because, we have had a lot of public discussion about it. This is something that for about a year now, we've been talking about a number of changes. This was something we knew we would need because the zoning laws that used to regulate some of this have changed. And so it's something that's been discussed for a long time. I think people have had a chance to get their concerns addressed. So, I do anticipate, and we really haven't heard a lot of negative response to it. It's been pretty positive feedback. So I do anticipate that it'll pass today.
I was going to ask you about that. We're talking to Jeff Everson, Shreveport City Council member. Oftentimes when you expand alcohol laws, you have church leaders come forward, and they oppose it. Have they not known about this, or are they just going to kind of stay out of it? Or are you expecting maybe you'll hear from some of them today?
Well, I mean, I hope that we hear from everyone who has an opinion on it. It's always best when you're able to hear differing views, but we really haven't heard a lot of opposition to this. It has been discussed a lot. We've been very, very public about these changes, and they've been covered well in the media. So I would assume that if there was opposition, that those people would have had an opportunity to pose that opposition. But, I think maybe it's just changing times, and there's different priorities and different things that they're maybe more concerned about than this particular issue.
Will the law also help if I had a friend who, say, was at a bar in Shreveport at 2 o'clock that bar closes and they want to keep partying. Well, they get on the road then and drive downtown where the bars are open. You think that could make things a little safer in that people wouldn't have to do the bar hopping that some do now?
That's where
It
Lyft
very well
comes in.
could, and as of Friday, I'm very happy to know that Lyft has made their application for their ride-sharing services as well. So we have even more things that should help with that. But Aaron, you're right. That is one of the things that they looked at. Is they looked at when we picked that 4 a.m. closing time, because right now in the city you have the opportunity to stay open to 4 if you meet certain qualifications, but then most bars close at 2. But they looked at other cities and they looked at when does the problem start? When is the public safety measurably affected from closing times? And that's how they decided on the 4 a.m. because that's really up to that point. There doesn't seem to be a measurable difference to the public safety.
The revenue that this could generate from the sales tax, I guess. Do you have any idea? Is there a way to gauge that at all?
It's hard to say the exact number, but in the legislation we do have, some indicators that tell us, and it's certainly a very big positive for the city of Shreveport. So, we do have a lot of people who right now are kind of bleeding out of the market on Sundays, and as a place that is a host to a lot of entertaining, it would be a very good thing for us to be able to hold on to those dollars right here locally instead of letting them go right outside of the city of Shreveport. So we are definitely anticipating a positive economic impact from that.